Good day, everyone. This is Terry Difazio, and you're watching Sound Check, the show that sometimes makes sense but usually not. My co-host to my right and your left is Todd Pronto.
Howdy.
The incredible Todd Pronto, whom has an album coming out when?
Well, let's see. At the time that this airs, it is probably being printed.
Oh, cool.
So it's tentatively, the official release date is going to be June 2nd. However, it's going to be ready before that. And I remember I did that Indiegogo campaign and people donated money.
Yep. I did too, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody that donated money gets the album before it comes out. So you'll have it about a month before it officially comes out.
Okay. Well, that's good.
So yeah,
that's very good. By the way, I've heard some of the rough mixes that Todd's gotten back, and it sounds good. The people you've had working on this CD sounds very, very good.
Thank you. We spent a lot of time on it.
Well, yeah, and people don't realize that it does take a lot of time to record an album, even with all of the software and all of the gadgets that are around today. There's still quite a technique that has to be followed. You can't just sort of throw things together.
Yeah.
And the other misconception that people have is, okay, the band goes into a room, they drop a microphone in and they record.
Yeah, no.
I think somebody who will remain nameless said that very same thing this past week to one of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's how they did it in the 40s.
Yeah. And I think even Bob Dylan did it in the 60s.
Maybe not one mic, but they did record all in one room back then.
Yeah.
I went to RCA Studio B in Nashville, Tennessee, and it's where Elvis Presley recorded a lot of his stuff after he left Sun Studios in Memphis, and Chet Atkins ran it.
Yeah.
And they did, I don't know, they did Johnny Cash and they did Roy Orbison, and it's an iconic studio. And it had, the ceilings were probably 30 feet high.
Oh, wow.
And it was all tile floors, and they had petitions to, like the drummer would be over there, and they put a petition in between him and like the guitarist.
Oh.
And that's how they recorded back then. And it was such a cavernous room. That's where all the reverb came from that you hear in those old recordings.
And we don't do that anymore. We do it digitally now.
Yeah. Now you record in a room that's completely dead and there's no sound bouncing anywhere.
Yeah,
so.
And essentially you want a room that's either completely dead or relatively dead sounding. Like this room that we're in is fairly dead.
It is pretty dead because I've played guitar in here before. And it's hard to hear yourself when you play guitar in here. So it is a fairly dead room.
Yeah. Hopefully not a Grateful Dead room.
No.
We don't want any stoners around. Anyways, we're not here to talk about ourselves.
No.
Well, we're going to anyway.
We will.
We're here to talk about concerts that we've been to, since I just went to a concert in Quebec City. And I haven't stopped talking about it for a whole week, and everyone's getting sick of me, so I thought I'd bring it on the air. But Todd and I are going to talk about all the different concerts we've been to over the years, and there have been several.
Yeah,
Todd's got the best story, though. But
I do?
Yeah, the Nirvana story.
Oh, yeah, I hate that story.
We'll get to that later. I'm blaming Courtney Love anyway.
Me too.
So, what was the first concert you went to, and what year was it?
I wrote it down, so if you see me referencing my phone, I'm not tweeting or twittering or texting or any of that stuff. I'm looking at my list.
I'm tweeting.
So yeah, you are. So I was making a list last night, and I found this Ziploc box, cheap Tupperware, that I'd thrown a bunch of tickets in, and I actually found the very first ticket stub. It was August 1st, 1994, Stowe Mountain. Aerosmith.
Oh yeah, the Performing Arts Center.
Yeah, back before they shut that down because of the noise complaints or something.
They did?
Yeah, they don't do it anymore, but it was perfect because the stage was down at the bottom of the mountain, and then people sat as the hill went up.
Oh yeah.
And so
it
was great. So
and that was what year?
1994.
Now here I'd completely forgotten this. But in 1993 I saw the Moody Blues there.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
at Stowe, yeah.
Yeah, and they were with the Vermont Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, cool.
But you go ahead with Aerosmith and how it ruined a relationship for you.
Well, not yet. This is pre-relationship.
Okay.
I wasn't really a big Aerosmith fan. In fact, my first concert was supposed to be later that year in August of 1994, but the lead singer of that band kind of expired that spring.
He didn't put money in the meter.
Yeah. So my neighbor at the time, this was in '94, so it was before I had my license, and he had tickets to see Aerosmith and Jackal. Remember Jackal, the guy who played with a chainsaw?
Yeah, I sort of remember them, yeah.
They weren't that good, but it was a good spectacle.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It was their Living on Edge tour.
Shades of Wendy O. Williams from the Plasmatics.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about her one time, and I used to chainsaw through guitars and televisions. And
yeah, exactly. So yeah, we went down to Stowe, and it was cool. We sat on the mountain. It was a nice summer day, and it was my first concert, Aerosmith. I've seen Aerosmith 4 other times. And that was because of the relationship that you mentioned.
Yes, and how it almost ruined your life.
Nah.
No?
I did see them. We saw them on Halloween of September 2011. I mean, Halloween in Halloween in 2001, right after September 11th. That's what I meant to say.
Okay.
In Montreal. And we went up on a bus, and it wasn't that hard getting into Canada, but boy, was it hard coming back. They pulled the whole bus over and searched everything. But Steven Tyler came out wrapped in an American flag in Montreal. And the Cult opened for them, if y'all remember the Cult by any chance. So the Cult opened for him. I think they were getting back together. They hadn't been together for a while. But Steven Tyler came out wrapped in an American flag in Montreal, and the whole entire stadium cheered because, of course, it was right after September 11th.
Yep.
And then and the funny thing is people were smoking pot inside the Molson Center, which you're not supposed to do.
No.
And Steven Tyler at that time, I think he fell off the wagon recently. And then got back on, but he'd been, clean for a while.
About 1987, they got cleaned up.
Him and what I heard. Joe Perry used to be referred to as the Toxic Twins.
Yeah, yep.
And Steven Tyler stopped after like the third song, and I can't say the expletive that he used, but he said, "What is going on? Is pot legal in this country?" And it really wasn't in 2001, but it was a cool show.
Yeah,
it was a very patriotic show for Canada.
Yeah,
but it was right after September 11th, so it was really tricky getting back across the border. And
I imagine so.
And I've seen him in Hartford, Connecticut. I've seen Aerosmith. I don't hate Aerosmith, not a huge fan of them, but definitely that relationship that you mentioned pretty much swayed seeing Aerosmith. I've seen Aerosmith more than any other band, and they're not my favorite by any means.
I bet the tickets were expensive too.
I can't remember. Oh, I should have looked. I should have brought the tickets in. One of them, I was laughing. One of the tickets, and I think it might have been the Stowe Mountain Arts one, that was like $25.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go to a concert for $25 anymore.
Not really. Not a good one, anyways.
Yeah, I mean you can come to mine for way less than $25. And nobody ever does. I don't get it.
I don't understand either. Most concert tickets that I've seen now are right around 60.
Yeah, that's about
60
average.
And up, so to speak. The first concert I remember going to was 1973, and I saw two that year. And the first one was the Buddy Rich Orchestra, which is avant-garde jazz.
Yeah,
that is the most amazing drummer I've ever seen.
I can imagine.
But what a jerk he was, though.
Was it? Oh, did you meet him?
No, but
you could just tell it transferred.
And when he talked to the audience, you could tell. And people that I know that have known him, he's kind of a jerk. But
that's too bad.
Yeah, and the other band was Flat and Scruggs, and the only reason I went to that was because the girl that I was dating at the time liked that.
Were you dating the same one?
No. No.
She was a huge Aerosmith and Flat and Scruggs fan.
I bet she wasn't alive in 73.
No. She was born in like 1980, I think. So, no, probably not. Flat and Scruggs. That's cool.
And it was interesting. It was kind of fun. Yeah. And then the next one I saw after that, I'm trying to bring myself up to where you were.
Up to like the early 90s?
Yeah. The next one I saw was in Burlington at the Memorial Center. It was Blue Oyster Cult.
Nice.
And they literally shook the rafters of that building. They were so loud.
That's not a real good room for concerts either.
No, it isn't. But it was fun. The opening band was a band called Smashed Gladys. And they were probably one of the worst opening acts I've ever seen.
Smashed Gladys.
Yeah.
Never heard of them.
John Butcher Axis was supposed to open. And he has diabetes, and he got really, really sick.
Yeah.
And so he had to cancel, and they got this other band. They billed themselves as the sleaziest band in New York City. And they had a girl singing, and she wasn't bad, but they didn't do much for the crowd. It wasn't anything too interesting. And now, what did you say? You went to one in '93, was it?
No, 94 was the first one.
The next concert I went to was 1992. I saw Spyro Gyra, which is a jazz fusion band. And if you talk about talent, unbelievably talented band. At one time, these guys have got to be at least 100 by now.
Probably.
Spyro Gyra's been around since forever.
I think 99.
Well, probably. Yeah. Almost as old as the Stones.
Almost, yeah. Rolling Stones.
They used to play at Berkeley in Boston and Berkeley in California every year.
Yeah.
And they'd play it for free.
Really?
Yeah.
Were they students?
I'm not sure. I never got to meet any of those guys, but all I know is, and Spyro Gyra has changed personnel because they've only been around since 1979.
Yeah, it's
They've
hard
been around a long, long, long time. I think I caught the best show because I saw them again in '96 at Stratton.
Oh, nice.
And they weren't as good in '96 as they were in '92. In '92, I was absolutely amazed at how good they sounded.
Huh.
And their performance was somewhat lively. People think of jazz and they think of your grandfather's music and it's nice and quiet. Jazz bands are not quiet anymore, ladies and gentlemen. They will blast your socks off if you let them. Like I know the Pat Metheny group is like that, although I've never seen them. But Spyro Gyra was incredible musicianship.
Yep.
And that was and then I mentioned before in 1993, I saw. What was it? Moody Blues.
Oh,
in Stowe with the.
Can you believe they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet?
I can't believe that.
That band should be in there. I don't understand why they're not.
Yeah, they didn't have an opening act. They actually, get this. This was the strange part about this concert. They were their own opening act. They opened with the Vermont Symphonic Orchestra, and they didn't seem very loud. And they played a whole bunch of songs with the Vermont Symphony Orchestra. They took a very short break. And then they came out and they turned the volume up. And then they just played without the orchestra.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And that was 93. And I didn't see another band until 96. So your turn.
Let's see, 1996. Well, you were speaking of jazz.
Yeah.
So I saw there's another drummer called Leon Parker.
Okay.
Leon Parker jazz group or something in Paris, France.
No kidding.
Yeah, I went to Paris, and I was incredibly jet-lagged, and I slept for, I think, 16 hours by the time we got there. And then my friend Juliet, that's no lie, her name is Juliet, said, we're going to see a jazz band tonight. And it was in a club, but it was a fairly decent-sized club. And a guy was playing, and then I went outside to have a cigarette, and he was outside having a cigarette. So I went up to talk. I had no idea who this guy was. So I went up to him and I tried to introduce myself in French. And back then I could speak French a little bit better. And I said, "Bonjour, je m'appelle Todd." And he said, "I'm from New York City. I don't speak French." And I said, "Oh." And I said, "I'm from Vermont." And he goes, "How long you been in Paris?" And I said, "Not long, less than a day. And you're the first person I saw." And go figure, he was American. But it was cool because I actually got to meet the whole band and talk with them.
Well, that's always cool.
I was the only one that spoke English in the whole place. So that would have been in 97.
97?
Yeah, 97.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's always cool to meet the band if they're ever a good band, whether they're famous or not. It's always good. It's always cool to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. I had to make a list last night because I'm really bad about. I don't know how chronological I'm gonna go, but I'm thinking of the 90s. So we're in the 90s right now, right?
Yep.
So in the 90s, as I look at my list, I saw Bob Dylan in 97 as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and Amy Mann opened for him. Have you ever heard of her?
I don't know her.
She's had she's kind of a folk artist. Portland, Maine, at the State Theater. And I remember this would have been earlier than that. This would have been right after Aerosmith, because I was like 95. I was dating a girl that was in college, but I was still a junior in high school. And
you like them older, huh?
I do. I don't know why.
Me too, folks.
Hear that, ladies?
My wife is 3 years older than I am.
So she bought me tickets for my birthday to go see Bob Dylan. I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan. And my dad was not going to let me go because I'd just gotten my license. I was driving. And he says, I can't let you go to Portland, Maine to a concert and stay at a dorm room. He's like, you're a minor, blah, blah, blah. And I said, Dad, Bob Dylan's going to die any time now.
Yeah. And he's threatened to.
Yeah. And so my dad was like, okay, it's a legend. You're probably right. He probably isn't going to tour much more. So he let me go. I've seen Bob Dylan 3 times since then. One was just 2 years ago. Yes. Bob Dylan's still going strong.
Yes, and I'm trying to goad Todd into buying this 4-record set that I see over at FYE in Burlington. You really should get that. I'm
absolutely going to get it. I've spent all my money on my own record. But I will get that because I really do want that.
It's something. It's 180 gram. Is it gram or grain? Gram.
Yeah, they're
vinyl.
nice.
It's real thick.
Nice thick.
The old records for all you kids out there. You take a record, and we used to be able to make them actually sing. They go, they wobble.
Yep.
These won't. These are. Yeah. If you threw one of these records like a frisbee, you could literally decapitate somebody with them.
They are all there.
They're tough. Very, very tough.
I don't notice a huge difference in sound, but I think they just don't degrade as quickly. But I don't know.
They'll wear better. They won't warp. I mean, it stands to reason. Any analog system. You know this. Whether it's tape, whether it's vinyl, no matter what it is, the more the better.
Yeah.
It's not like digital. The digital, it really doesn't matter. But with analog, the more the better. Yeah. So
I was listening to Abbey Road on Saturday one of those woo things. Yeah. It was the original record from the 70s.
A friend of mine in Claremont, New Hampshire, who has a recording studio, he played me an album by Simple Minds. Back in 1983, I think it was. The record was yellow.
Really?
It was yellow. Yeah. Of course, now that's the big thing, and we'll get up to the vinyl thing some more. And I'm actually glad vinyl's coming back. I mean, I'm not going to buy it, but it looks really nice.
I buy it.
My next concert was 1999.
Yep.
And it was horrible. We went to see Kenny Wayne Shepherd at a ski resort in Maine.
Really?
And the sound was horrible. The band played well, but you couldn't really distinguish much. It was just very, very, very loud and distorted.
Well, that's too bad. He's incredible.
Yeah. And I'll get to him later, but I am going to go see him again.
Ooh,
very soon. But Kenny Wayne Shepherd was a big disappointment. I was going to go see him on a weekend. If I had said, to heck with it, I'm going to go on a weeknight, and if I'd have gone on a Thursday night and said to heck with it and went to work kind of, tired the next day, he was playing at the Flynn Theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I should have gone to that.
That would have been better, yeah.
Because the Flynn Theater I've been to, and that was pretty good. But Kenny Wayne Shepherd was a very disappointing one. So now we're up into the turn of the century.
Oh, I'm still in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
I'll just go over them real quick.
Okay, don't take your time.
Arlo Guthrie.
I remember him from the 60s.
Yeah, Johnson State College.
Wow.
Did the entire Alice's Restaurant. So Alice's Restaurant, for those of you that don't know, is about 18 minutes long. And it's just him telling a story about how he dodged a draft from the Vietnam War, basically, and it's pretty funny. He did like a bunch of his songs, and of course his dad was Woody Guthrie, so he's a legend. And then he walked off stage, and he never did Alice's Restaurant. So the audience is clapping, encore, and he walks back out on stage. And he goes, "Did I forget something?" Of course, that's why everybody came to see him. So that was his encore anyway.
Oh yeah. And the first time I heard that was 1969. I was in college the first time.
That's about right.
That's when I first heard of Arlo Guthrie.
Yeah. He was, okay, so 90s, Arlo Guthrie. Primus.
Now, there's a bass guitar player. That was a good band. I wish I could had seen them.
We saw them at UVM. It really wasn't. Right, what's it, Patrick Gymnasium?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Primus, and opening for them was a band called POD. They were like a Christian metal band. Purveyors of Death or something. They weren't very good.
Didn't sound like a Christian band to me.
No, but they were. They were a Christian. I think that's what I vaguely remember. But Primus was, and during that show, Les Claypool, the drummer and the guitarist walk off, and Les Claypool says, "I'd like to introduce a couple of my friends." And Trey Anastasio from Phish came up, and Stuart Copeland.
Yes, from the Police.
Yes, they were recording an album at the time that would be called Oysterhead, and it was Les Claypool, Stuart Copeland, and Trey Anastasio. And they were recording it in Burlington at Phish's recording studio.
Oh, really?
Great album. I should make you a copy of it. It's a fantastic album.
I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, and I don't usually use the words Trey Anastasio and fantastic in the same sentence. Sorry, Phish fans. I've seen Phish a couple times, but it's a great album. And I went with my friend Bernie, and we're sitting there. He's walking on stage. Is that Stuart Copeland? And Bernie's like, I think it is. I'm like, what?
Good drummer.
What would Stuart Copeland be doing in Burlington, Vermont? And then Les Claypool said, Stuart Copeland. And we're like, whoa.
Yeah. Todd knows the story behind Les Claypool. He auditioned for Metallica, and they told him to go find a good band.
Yeah.
He was too good for them, which is interesting because Billy Sheehan, a bass player, auditioned for Van Halen, and they said he was too good.
Really?
And they got Michael Anthony instead.
I've never turned down a good bass player. Good bass players, I don't care. They could be too good. That's perfect.
Yeah. Either that, or they were afraid they'd have to play up to that standard.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
And they couldn't do it.
If you don't know who Primus is, they're the ones that do the South Park theme song.
Yeah, they had their first the first song I ever heard of theirs, and the video was hilarious. Was called "Jerry Was a Race Car Driver."
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then the next one they did was called "My Name Is Mud."
Yep.
And then the other one was Winona's Big Brown Beaver.
Yeah, and Sailing the Seas of Cheese was the name of the album.
Yeah, that was good. Okay, go ahead.
All right, 90s, Jewel.
Oh.
Memorial Auditorium.
Wow.
Horrible place for a show.
Yeah.
Great show, though. Yeah. She had such a beautiful voice. This is when Jewel she only had one song on the radio. She was really, really new.
And what was it?
Who Will Save Your Soul.
See, I'm not that familiar with that genre, so I don't know that song.
I'm more into the folk stuff, obviously, but her voice is so beautiful, and it was in the middle. It was like July. Everybody was sweating because it was hot in there. There's like no filtration system, and I left with goosebumps because her voice was that beautiful.
Oh yeah.
A couple months later, I saw Ani DeFranco in the same place. I don't know if you know who she is.
I've heard of her.
She's pretty cool. I saw the Crash Test Dummies and Alanis Morissette.
That one I've heard of them. Yes.
He did. The Crash Test Dummies, the guy's got the lowest voice ever. It's a really, once there was this kid. They did Hit Me Baby One More Time by Britney Spears. It was the funniest thing I ever saw in my life. It was their last song of the show, and he was wearing like a trench coat, and he ripped it off, and he was wearing lingerie, and they did Baby One More Time. And then they walked off the stage, and then Alanis Morissette came out.
I think I understand why they walked off stage and didn't come back.
Yeah, it was hilarious because everybody was like, what?
But by the way, though, that guy that you were talking about from Crash Test Dummies, I know somebody who sings in a deeper voice than him.
Really?
The singer for Rammstein.
Oh, yes.
That guy, I'm telling you, he makes the bottom fall out of a bass drum.
Almost done with the 90s.
Go ahead.
Dr. John.
Oh, yes.
Said Dr. John at the Flynn.
Another 70s band.
Yeah, it must have been the right place, wrong time. I saw Phish in the 90s out in Plattsburgh, New York. I saw the Face to Face tour at the very end of the 90s. Elton John and Billy Joel.
Oh, yeah.
Together in Montreal. Boy, I went to Montreal a lot.
Yeah.
Back in the day. That was one of my favorite shows. Not Elton John so much, but Billy. I'm a big Billy Joel fan because I'm lame. I'll admit it. Elton John almost put me to sleep because he saved all of his 70s stuff, like Crocodile Rock and more of his upbeat stuff, for the end when they came out and sang together. So he did all of his Disney stuff, like the Lion King stuff, and it was just and I'd worked all day, and I was like kind of sitting in the audience, almost falling asleep. Plus Elton John had to change after every song. He got up and bowed to all four corners of the stage because there were people sitting around the stage. And then he did like 4 costume changes. It was ridiculous. And then Billy Joel came out and he was dancing on the piano and throwing guitars around. And it's probably when Billy Joel was drinking. I don't know.
More than likely.
But it was a great show. I saw John Schofield at Club Toast. I saw the Four Non Blondes, Everclear, and Soundgarden.
Soundgarden, I thought was good.
They were very good.
Yeah, of all of the sort of, I don't know if you call them grunge bands, they were sort of put in that genre. I thought they were probably one of the better ones.
I agree. I think that's it for the 90s. Did I mention John Schofield?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a jazz guy, kind of like Pat Metheny, who Terry was talking about earlier.
Pat Metheny is an interesting story.
I think that's it.
He had I don't know, he had some sort of a minor accident, like he fell down some stairs or something, and he got temporary amnesia, and they brought his memory back by playing him his own music. And he said, "Oh yeah," and he finally caught on. He started playing again.
I wonder if that happened to me, if I'd think my music was good. I'd feel like, this guy sucks. What is this?
Who is this guy?
This guy can't even sing. Buy my album. It's going to be really good.
Now, Todd didn't tell you about the tragedy of a concert he was going to that didn't materialize.
I was supposed to see, my first concert was not supposed to be Aerosmith in 1994. It was supposed to be Nirvana.
Aha.
And I cannot remember who was opening for Nirvana at that show. I want to say that it was Mudhoney, but I'm not.
I've heard of them, but I'm
not positive.
I'm not familiar with their music, but I have heard of them.
It was supposed to be in Boston. And it was going to be in July or August of 1994, and Kurt Cobain died in April of 1994. So I never get to see Nirvana, though my tastes musically have changed a lot since then. Nirvana is the reason that I bought a guitar and started, playing my own music. So for me, Kurt Cobain's a huge influence, and thanks to Courtney Love, no, I'm just kidding. I never got to see
We won't
Nirvana.
even tell you the Courtney Love jokes we have.
No, we probably should not. But that was a huge tragedy for me. I would have been really young, though. I would have been like 15 years old, and my parents were going to go with me. Which, that made kind of lame, going to a Nirvana concert with your parents, but whatever. I was going to go anyway.
Well, Todd, you're probably right, but you know something? This last concert that I went to, which we will mention later in the show, I would have taken any of my grandchildren, and I would have out-headbanged all of them.
I bet you would have.
And my wife and I did.
You probably listen to heavier music than your grandchildren. In fact, I know you do.
Yeah, that's a fact.
My grandparents are, French, so their music, I don't know. Maybe it was heavy. It all sounded like French to me.
Well, all you have to do is just play the record backwards, and you got it.
Oh, I never thought of that. Well, my grandmother did give me my grandfather's record collection. So
is that right?
Maybe I'll try that. Oh, I got this. I understand it now. I think that's it for the 90s. I mean, it could be wrong, but I do have a whole list. So.
Well, we'll interject some because I started going to concerts again in 2003, and I saw Ted Nugent open for ZZ Top.
Sweet.
And as much as I don't like Nugent as a person, I can't stand him as a person, he gave one hell of a show.
I've heard he is really
good.
He
was, but he's so full of himself it isn't funny.
Well.
He's actually funny, he's so full of himself. And ZZ Top lip-synced the whole concert, which really sucked.
I know, that's so weird. Did they have colds or something? Or?
Nope. After a while, after a couple songs, I'm going, this sounds a little too much like the record.
They beard synced it.
Yeah, they beard synced it. And in between songs, Billy Gibbons and Dusty Hill talked a lot. And the drummer, Frank Beard, who's the only guy in the band that doesn't have a beard, he chain smoked cigarettes like crazy. I mean, he was chain smoking between every song. That was kind of disappointing. The very same venue, which was at Meadowbrook Farms in Laconia, New Hampshire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've been there.
Or Guilford or wherever it is. The very next year, I went to an incredible show. It was Thin Lizzy opened, Joe Satriani was next, and Deep Purple headlined. And I couldn't hear for a day and a half.
Sweet.
It was a great show. I mean, that was really good. And
I saw Moron 5 there. I mean Maroon 5.
Maroon 5?
Yeah, at Meadowbrook.
Oh, were they good?
Yeah, yeah. Counting Crows and Sarah Bareilles.
I don't know that one.
Good lineup. I also, this is pretty funny. When Devin and I were working for the radio station, we had some promotion with Meadowbrook, and it was a huge country jamboree thing. And Montgomery Gentry was the headlining band. And then there was Eric Church, Jack Ingram, and I can't remember who. So we introduced Eric Church, which was kind of cool. So we walked out on the stage and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Church, blah, blah, blah." And I know Jack Ingram anyway. I've known him from the Nashville, my Nashville years. And so we hung out with Jack a little bit, and then we left before the headliners came up because I hate Montgomery Gentry. And we were hanging out back there. We were right next to their bus. I saw him walking around, and Jack's like, "Do you want to meet the guys from Montgomery Gentry?" And both Devin and I were like, "Nah, we got to get going."
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Sometimes it happens that way.
Yeah, so I've walked out on 2 prominent bands, and I went to see the opening acts only. I went to see Jack Ingram and Eric Church and walked out before Montgomery Gentry went on stage. I also went to see Taylor Swift perform one of her first big-time concerts ever, and Gary Allen, who were opening up for Rascal Flatts, and it was in Albany, New York, and Rascal Flatts started playing, and my buddy Steve and I kind of looked at each other and said, "Do you want to head home?" These guys suck. It's a really long drive. We might as well get. I don't know. Sorry if you're a Rascal Flatts fan, but
you don't have to apologize to me.
They suck just as bad live as they do on CD.
Yeah. You don't have to apologize to me because I don't like them either.
I'm just not a fan. So yeah. So I'm sure somebody watching who loves Rascal Flatts is going to be like, "You walked out on a Rascal Flatts show?" Yes, I did.
Yep.
Yeah. It was the best thing I ever did.
This show is actually doing me some good because I'm remembering some concerts I'd forgotten about.
Yeah.
I should actually do what you did, Todd. I should actually write these down because I just realized that in 2006, I got free tickets to go see Starship down at the Caledonia State Fair.
Yeah.
And they were good. Mickey Thomas was still great. He has an incredible voice.
Yep.
Nobody else in the band came from Starship. Those guys are all gone. Paul Kantner, all of them, they're gone.
Yeah.
And but Mickey Thomas was still singing the same songs, the same way with the same. The guy has taken care of his voice. I saw a show on TV one time with the Bee Gees. Not that I would like the Bee. I didn't like the Bee Gees, but I was watching it, and they can't hit those notes.
Those are pretty high notes.
And Mickey Thomas was hitting all the notes.
Really?
Still, and he was in his early 50s at the time.
I think that happened. I mean, Robert Plant can't do what he used to do.
Robert Plant couldn't hit those notes 5 years after Zeppelin broke up.
Yeah.
He all the guys in Zeppelin just let themselves go. They never stayed in shape.
Yeah.
They never, if you look at touring acts, here's a good example for you. Todd knows Joe Satriani. He's probably one of the best, if not the best guitar player in the world.
He's got to be, yeah.
And I really do believe he's an alien.
He might be.
And I think he took Steve Vai with him.
They're from the same planet.
He wrote the song Satch Boogie in 1987 or 88.
Probably.
From the Surfing with the Alien album. That hammer roll lick that he does in Satch Boogie, I've seen him twice live, and he's actually added notes to it.
Really?
You got to hear this solo. It's unbelievable the way he plays it, and he's actually added a note or two here and there that wasn't even in the original. And this was, like I said, 87 or 88 when this album came out.
Wow.
So.
Satch Boogie.
Yeah, I went to the Deep Purple concert. I actually was looking for Joe Satriani, and it just happened that he was with Deep Purple and Thin Lizzy. It's like, and the nice thing about that concert was, at that time, I didn't know who the guitar player for Thin Lizzy was, but he's also one of the best guitar players in the world. It's John Sykes, and Deep Purple's guitar player at the time wasn't Richie Blackmore. It was Steve Moore.
Oh yeah,
and. It's like, wow, 3 incredible guitar players on the stage, one right after another.
I bet.
I believe, no, Steve Morse. I'm sorry.
Steve Morse.
Steve Morse.
Blackmore wasn't there. That's too bad.
Well, Richie's got his own problems.
Everybody does.
So 2006, I stopped for a few years, and have you seen any in there?
Oh yeah. Oh well, Maynard Ferguson or Menard. I don't really know how to say it. That was probably in the 90s.
That's one hell of a trumpet player.
Yeah, he was cool. I left him out of the jazz when we were talking about jazz. 2006, yeah. I saw, boy. Let's see. I saw Steve Earle for the first time in 2006. Steve's like my idol. He signed one of my guitars. I don't use that guitar on stage a whole lot anymore because I was dumb and I had him sign it right where my forearm rests. And if I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt and I sweat it all, it's starting to rub off. But so I've seen Steve Earle like 9 times since then. But that was the first time I saw Steve Earle. And Southern Culture on the Skids opened for him in Nashville, Tennessee. And one of their tricks is at the end of their set, their last show, they bring out buckets of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, and throw chicken at the audience. and the audience throws it back and eats it. And it was disgusting. And Steve Earle slipped on chicken grease a few times during his set, but it was.
And you guys thought Ozzy Osbourne was bad for biting a head off a bat that he didn't even realize was a bat. He thought it was a toy.
Yeah, no, this is real chicken. I don't know how old it was. And my buddy Hawk, it was my maybe it was my 27th birthday. I don't remember. It was my 20-somethingth birthday, and he had bought me tickets as a surprise and it was an outdoor concert. And it was, I'd never seen Southern Culture on the Skids, and he said, because I'm a vegetarian, he says, you're probably not going to like the last song. And I'm like, no, these guys are great. And he goes, no, not the music. You're just not going to enjoy the last song. And we were in like the 3rd row or something. And I think
Did you get hit by a drumstick?
No, but Hawk caught a wing and started eating it, and he was like, he's like yelling to me, like, isn't this awesome? And he's like spitting like breadcrumbs in my face, and I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Oh, what else did I see around 2006?
Menard Ferguson, though. What year did you see him?
It was probably like 98. It was at, he came to Linden State College.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wish I'd have seen that because I have one of his CDs, and if you've never heard the CD Conquistador, you need to hear that. He plays a trumpet like nobody. I mean, Al Hurt's good, Doc Severinsen's good. This guy is like, you guys know what shredding is, right?
Oh yeah,
guitar shredding. This guy is a trumpet shredder. I'm listening to him and I said, yeah, if he was a shredder. But that's what he called him. If they had that terminology for trumpet players, because that's what he does.
Yeah.
He hits notes that no human could possibly hit.
I've seen the Gin Blossoms a few times in that area too. I opened for the Gin Blossoms in Nashville.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet them?
Oh yeah. Yeah. The lead singer's a prick, but Scotty, their guitarist Scotty, if you're watching this, we're gonna hang out again sometime, buddy. Scotty and I have actually hung out a few times. The lead singer, he's just got a chip on his shoulder, and I'm like, you guys were really big for like 10 minutes in the 90s. Like, I don't know why you think you're so cool. Like, they're a good band, but
too many drugs.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. He just really thinks he's cool. I don't know what to
if you look at the bands from the 70s era, Fleetwood Mac was one of them. The Eagles was another one. Excessive drinking and drugging broke those bands up.
Oh yeah,
and this is probably what happened to the Gin Blossoms. Somebody's got a substance abuse problem, and to build on that, for example, I've seen. I'll get to it in a minute. Steve Vai, his philosophy is, I don't care how good of a musician you are. If you can't get along with us on the road, I don't want you.
Yeah,
and most of your bands are like that now. If you can't get along, we're going to have to spend a lot of time on the road. If we can't get along, I don't want you. We don't want the drama.
The guy that played fiddle on my album in Nashville was in between jobs when he played for me because he was on the road with Keith Urban, and Keith Urban had gotten sober and he fired his entire band because the band did not get sober.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's. I got him right after Keith Urban fired him. I've seen Keith Urban live too. Keith's good. Boy, who else? Oh, Ziggy Marley and the Wailers. That was cool.
Yep.
That was in New York.
They did have an offshoot of that band too called the Wailers.
It's just the Wailers, yeah.
They played at Stowe, as a matter of fact, the new Performing Arts Center.
Yep, they played at J too. I actually saw them when they played at J too.
Oh, is that right?
Yep. Oh. But it was when Ziggy played with them. Where was that? That was I can't even. I think it was in Portland. It was in Portland, Maine. Ziggy Marley and the Wailers. I've seen Hank Williams III. He's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot of these I saw in Nashville. Elvis Costello.
Oh yes,
that was a great show.
That had to be a long time ago.
That was in 2007.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow, that wasn't that long ago.
It was when I was in Nashville.
I won't tell you my Elvis Costello joke either, because you've heard it already.
I've heard it. Who was with Elvis? Lucinda Williams opened for him, and Emmylou Harris came out and
I've heard of her. Yep.
Did a little cameo. Who else is on this list? Jason Aldean. He's a country guy.
Yep.
He's a prick too. I mean, no, he's a really nice guy.
A legend in his own mind.
He was, yeah. Well, okay, so I met Jason right before. He's huge now. Mm-hmm. Like he was in that god awful American country, the American Academy of Country Music Awards Sunday night. He was one of the big acts there. But when we saw him and met him, and I think he came to Barton too.
Really?
At one point, yeah. I met him down in Massachusetts, but yeah, he was. I don't understand why people think they're really cool. Like, I don't, whatever, you still, it's like they say, you still put your pants on 3 legs at a time, just like everybody else. And
yeah, that's always bothered me. I had some friends who met Van Halen back in 1980 or 79 or 80.
Did they have a chip on their shoulder?
They said David Lee Roth was the only jerk. The other guys just ignored you, but Roth had a real attitude.
I think Roth's kind of just known for that, isn't he?
Well, that's what cocaine will do for you.
You're right. Boy, what else do I have? There were so many down in Nashville. That a lot of people might not know, like Buddy Miller. Mm-hmm. Some people might know. Buddy Miller's fantastic. I got to see Justin Townes Earl recently, who's Steve Earle's son. Mm-hmm. And that was in Bethlehem, New Hampshire.
Oh.
At the Colonial Theater.
Oh, I've been through that town several times, but I've never been there.
It's just a tiny town like the size of Glover.
Yeah.
It's not very big. And he had played in like Portland, Maine, and he was going to like Kingston, New York, and they just added this date in New Hampshire in between, like 2 weeks before it happened. I saw it on Twitter. I bought the tickets for like $35. The theater was the size of. It was smaller than North Country's auditorium.
Size of the Haskell, maybe.
It was about the size of the Haskell, but with no balcony.
Oh. Wow, that is small.
It was tiny. It was just little run down. Not run down. It's a historic theater. It's kept up well, but it's not. But the Haskell's in way better shape.
Yeah.
And it was a great show. The opening act was horrible. I don't remember the guy's name, but it was so bad. Like I went out and I went pee like 3 times during his set, just so I knew I wouldn't have to. And Justin came on stage.
Yeah. Yeah. You reminded me of a concert I went to that I don't really consider a concert because I didn't have to pay for it, and it was at the Barton Fair. It was Emerson Drive.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
And
I went golfing with those guys.
I've got to tell you, I wasn't impressed with their musicianship, but they had a nice full sound to them.
Yeah, the fiddle player was really good.
Yep. The guitar player and the bass player, I don't think could play more than a couple of licks, but the overall sound of the band was nice and rich, and it was good.
We introduced them. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Yeah, because I worked for WIKE at the time.
Was that in 2003 or 4?
Yeah, it was before I went to Nashville, so it's probably 2003.
Yeah.
Maybe 2004. Yeah, we went golfing with those guys that morning because we were the sponsor of the show. And then we introduced them. And Trick Pony also came. I forgot about that, but they came the year before. Mm-hmm. And the Barton Fair used to have. They had Aaron Tippin come. They've had. I saw that too. They always would have a country act come. They're not really doing that now. I think it's too expensive.
Yeah.
These acts. See, here's the problem. Because people don't buy CDs anymore, and a lot of people illegally download them, they have to make their money on the road, and which is fine, but it's driving up ticket sales. And little places like the Caledonia County Fair and the Barton Fair really suffer because, Aaron Tippin, let's just use him as an example. I think he was the last big act that came. Maybe it was Tracy Bird, but the last real big act that came here aren't huge now, but they're very well respected names in the country field, and people know who they are. And if they come to Barton, they will pack the stands like Emerson Drive did. Mm-hmm. But they can't afford to do this anymore. They can't afford to hire these people because now that's where all the money comes from. It's cost so much money to get them to come up here. Yeah. So now I think this year's like a tribute band that's playing at the Barton Fairgrounds. I can't remember who it is. It's like is it a Rolling Stones tribute band? I really can't remember.
There used to be one called Shattered years ago.
Really?
Yeah, way back in.
Did Keith Richards outlive him? He outlives everybody.
Probably. Well preserved, I think. Probably.
Keith Richards.
Jeez.
He's going to outlive everyone, that guy.
Yep. Yeah, I think the next concert I went to was 2010.
Yep.
And I saw Grand Funk Railroad.
Yeah.
And they were still really, really good. The lead guitar player has left. And they replaced him with a couple of guys. Bruce Kulick, who used to be in Kiss, was in the band.
Yep.
And the keyboard player, I don't remember his name, but he was a younger guy, and the singer was named Max Gale. But the drummer and the bass player were the original two, and Don Brewer still played drums just as well.
Nice.
The guys really stayed in shape, and that's the whole key to it. If you're going to, play your old music and go on the road and all that stuff, you got to stay in shape. You can't let yourself fall apart like Led Zeppelin did.
Yeah, you got to hand it to Steven Tyler and Joe Perry from Aerosmith. I mean, they're in pretty good shape for their age, really.
Yep, that is true. The opening band, I don't remember. They were an 80s glam hair cover band. They were a nice bunch of guys. I got to meet them and talk with them a little bit. And then the next year, that was the year I decided I'm going to go to one concert a year.
Uh-huh.
And so far, I've held that up. Yeah. The next year was 2011, and I saw Blue Oyster Cult again.
Nice.
And there was two guys from the original band and a bunch of young guys from New York City. And they looked it. They all, well, of course, that's where the band was from anyway.
Sure.
Was it, what is his name? Buck Dharma and, I can't think,
I don't know.
Eric Bloom. Were the only two left. And I didn't realize this, but Eric Bloom is a little guy.
Is he?
Yeah, plays a mean guitar. The opening band was called Driver, and they were
I've heard of them.
They were a cover band, and they did some Stevie Ray Vaughan, and they did some Foghat, and they were actually really good. I really got into them. They were doing this cover music, and the funny thing was, everybody in the band had gray hair. They guys were in their 50s.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit younger than me at the time. And he stopped halfway through, and he was talking to the crowd, how good it was to open for Blue Oyster Cult and how great the audience was. He says, and look at all these speakers. They had two huge JBL line arrays.
Nice.
And they sounded good. Blue Oyster Cult played, I thought that their engineer had way too many subwoofers on. It was too bassy.
Was it? That happens a lot.
For my taste. And then the unthinkable happened, and I went to see Steve Vai.
Yeah.
At the Lebanon Opera House in New Hampshire.
Wow.
Great venue. The band was good. He was pretty loud. Steve Vai is just an insane guitar player. Mm-hmm. One of the sickest people I've ever seen play guitar.
He is. He's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and of course, a couple of years with Frank Zappa will do that to you anyway.
Yeah, he was on the road with him for a couple of years, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
80 to 82 or something like that.
Yep. Steve Vai show was good.
I bet.
I can't remember the opening act, but it was a woman folk singer who played an acoustic guitar, and then she played a keyboard for a while too. I don't remember her name.
Really? That's an interesting opening act for a band like that.
Yep. That was a good show. 2013. I almost forgot this the other day, but I saw at the Stowe, the new Performing Arts Center, I saw Sonny Landreth.
Oh, yeah.
And if you've never heard of Sonny Landreth, and I know everybody's out there has heard of Sonny Landreth.
Oh, yeah. He used to be in the Backstreet Boys.
And also Kitchen Sink.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot you went to that show.
It wasn't loud enough. It was way too quiet. Sonny Landreth, if you've never heard of him, he's from Louisiana. He plays a combination of rock, blues, and Cajun kind of music. And it was very good. He played for about an hour and a half. He was excellent. His band was excellent. It was a very, very good concert, other than the fact that it really wasn't loud enough.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
The PA system, the house PA system they had at Stowe was really anemic. Quite anemic.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful theater, too.
Yes, it is. We went there on a tour once, you and I and somebody else, and we looked at the place. And
in 2012, probably?
Yeah. And it's too bad that happened. I'm up to 2013.
Yeah, I'm almost out of everything because I kind of combined everything at the end. I saw Steve Earle again in 2013.
Oh, you did? Where?
At JP.
Oh, yeah. You're telling me about that.
That's where he signed my guitar. I was all excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been to like the Grand Ole Opry a bunch of times too. So I've saw a bunch of people that are dead now. Little Jimmy Dickens and George Jones and Porter Wagner and all these people that died. I got to see him at the Grand Ole Opry. So hey.
You don't think that's what killed him, do you?
Maybe. I don't think you'd like the Grand Ole Opry. Yeah. I could picture Terry sitting in the audience like, what is this? It's not loud enough.
Although I'll tell you, Emerson Drive was sort of a country band, weren't they?
They were a country band, yeah.
And they were loud.
Yeah, but the Opry is much more traditional, and it's like it's old time. It's actually started on AM radio, and it's still on AM radio. So they'll have like extremely local ads. They'll be like, like Porter Wagner would be the host, and be like, and we'll be back next with Vince Gill right after a word from Ma's, country flower, and then it's like and they do the ads live on stage, and it's broadcast over the thing. So they'll hold up like if you see it in the Grand Opry House, you'll see the image come on the screen. If you see it at the Ryman when they go there for Christmas time, they hold up like poster boards, and they'll be like, just like Ma used to make it. Good old-fashioned corn flour raised down at the creek. It's really cool. It's very historic, but it's not very loud.
No.
It's very but a lot of the audience there are elderly, in their 70s or 80s going, and then when the new acts come out, they're slightly louder, but they dial them back, and It's an experience, but I don't think you'd enjoy it.
I bet they have good sound, though. I bet they have good engineering.
It's incredible sound. Yeah, and it's broadcast live on television at the same time. So it's and the radio. So it's very good sound. It's really not loud. I mean, we could be talking just like this in the third row while the people were performing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was almost like Sonny Landreth, and I had front row center tickets for Sonny Landreth.
Yeah.
2014. I went to see Brit Floyd.
Oh yeah.
Pink Floyd tribute band at the Flynn Theater, and I ended up with front row center tickets for that. What an incredible light show!
I bet.
If you had closed your eyes, you could not have told the difference between Pink Floyd and this band.
Yeah.
They were loud, they were good, they were clean, they were clear. You could hear every instrument. That was one of the best shows. I mean, as far as just a stage presence, it was excellent.
I'd like to see them next time they come. They've PBS has been running a show of theirs that they did somewhere here in the States. I'm not sure where.
They toured again this year, but they didn't come to Burlington. They went to Montreal.
Is that what it was?
But they
are good. I mean, from what I've seen on TV, but I'm sure being there is,
We were supposed to have my brother-in-law and I were supposed to have tickets for the sound check and the meet and greet, but the equipment didn't get there in time. So the band did a little acoustic thing, and then after the show, the band came out and we got to meet and greet.
Oh, that's cool.
Everybody, and they were a very cool bunch. They toured a lot. Their female singers were very good. They had three women backup singers, excellent singers. That was really good, which led me to go to a concert in Worcester, Massachusetts, at the Palladium.
Yep.
To see one band I really wanted to see and one band I didn't care about. The opening act was Amaranth. from Sweden, and the headlining act was Within Temptation from Holland. It was the loudest, most annoying concert I've ever been to. And it was disappointing because I really like Within Temptation. When I see their videos, I have DVDs by them. I have several of their CDs. I really love the band, and I love Sharon Denadle's voice. She's got a beautiful, beautiful voice. But this was so loud, it was assaultive. They were using 2 JBL line array systems. And now, if you don't know what that is, you have to go back to one of our previous episodes when we explained all this to you guys.
Second episode, maybe?
Yeah, probably. And a funny thing about this was I've spoken to 2 sound engineers since that show. One was on a cruise that I took on a huge cruise ship, and I was talking to a sound man from Australia, and he said, "You know what JBL?" He was in Australia. He says, "You know what JBL means, don't you?" I said, "Yeah, James B. Lansing." He says, "No, it means just bloody loud." So then, Within Temptation was quite disappointing, to say the least. And then I went to Quebec City.
Yes, this is the pinnacle right here.
And I'm going to show you a video clip of one band at the end of the show here. And this wasn't from this show. This was from a show about 2 years ago, but they played this particular song. But the opening act was Delane from Holland, woman singer, somewhat operatic, somewhat popish. Somewhat rockish. Excellent act. You could hear everything perfectly. And the crowd got into them, and they're just the opening act. Second band was from Sweden. They were an all-male band called Sabaton, who was a heavy metal band without the grunting and growling. The guy actually sings pretty darn well. I think what happened with Sabaton was either one of 2 things. They either took Saxon and Iron Maiden and they sort of put them together and they crunched them and they came up with this band. Or Iron Maiden or Saxon went up to Sweden, had children by beautiful Swedish women, and these are all their kids.
Oh, maybe.
Because that's what they sound like. If you took Saxon and Iron Maiden and put them together, that's what this band sounded like.
Well, Iron Maiden did have their own plane.
Yeah. and Todd even, I sent Todd a video by Sabaton, and they're
They're good. They're very good.
Rather good band. I was quite impressed. And then they lowered the lights a bit, and they let the crowd get a bit rowdy, and the headlining act was Nightwish. And Nightwish was unbelievable.
And that, for those of you that don't know, Terry, Nightwish is like when I saw Steve Earle. Like, that was a big thing for me. Nightwish is, you've been waiting to see them since
2010.
2010?
That's when I first discovered him, was about 2009 or 2010. And I never thought they'd come close enough. And
They're from Finland, right?
They're from Finland, yeah. 4 guys are from Finland. One's from England, and the woman who sings, Miss Fleur Janssen, is from Holland.
Yeah.
And
not Vermont.
No, not Holland, Vermont.
She'd stick out like a sore thumb there.
Jeez. This woman was 6'1", and I met the band, shook hands with them, got autographs, got pictures. And if I get the pictures, I'll show them on here sometime. They're on a camera, and I've got to take it off. But I was standing in back of her, and there was 3 guys in the front, and my wife and I were in back of the band, and I was just, I smiled and everything, and Fleur is going like this. So I did the same thing. And then we took some more pictures, and she was going like this. So I did the same. Whatever hand gesture she made, I made. I mean,
that's awesome.
There's here's the interesting thing about this band. Like I said, one's from Holland, 4 from Finland, 1 from Great Britain. Every one of them spoke perfect English. Perfect English. It was not difficult to understand them or for them to understand me. This was in Quebec City, so there were a lot of francophones. And all 3 bands tried to speak a little French, and then they gave up after 2 or 3 sentences and went back to English, and they all spoke in English. Because Quebec City, and like a lot of, like Montreal, they're extremely bilingual now. Mm-hmm. They've realized that they've got to do both, and I wish I had learned other languages as well. But the Nightwish experience was like second to none. I even got to speak to their head engineer, and he said, I said, "You guys were at the Palladium in Worcester 2 nights ago, weren't you?" And I told him, I said, I saw Within Temptation, the sound system was horrible. It was loud. It was this, it was like being assaulted. And without even blinking, this guy said, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to write in a trade journal somewhere. I will not work with JBLs. I hate JBLs. They're made in China. They're horrible sounding speakers. I'll work with anything but JBLs. So he must have engineered that show and realized, see, most of these places that these bands play now, they have what's called a house system. Right. They don't bring their equipment with them. Unlike the Flynn, you have to bring your own equipment.
Yeah.
And Meadowbrook, you have to bring your own equipment.
Probably Meadowbrook, yeah, because it's just an amphitheater. I'm sure.
And the other place was I went to when I saw Grand Funk and Blue Oyster Cult was Indian Ranch in Massachusetts. These places don't have their own sound systems, but La Capitole had its own sound system, and the Palladium has its own sound system, and this concert was like sitting in front. It was like watching this band, but having the sound come out of your stereo. It was that good.
Sweet.
It was that good, and this was it was a beefy system, but I didn't go out of there with a headache or ringing ears. But I will tell you, and here's the funny part, Todd. Somebody said to me after we got back, "What age group was this?" Mm-hmm. I said 15 to 70.
Yeah.
There were people from all age groups, and I was not the oldest one. I was close, but there was actually a couple people there older than me. But I was the oldest one headbanging. I was going, I was just getting into it.
Yeah, he has to wear a collar most of the day, but
yeah, I hurt my neck, and I had to go to the chiropractor afterwards. But when I show you this video, you will see Miss Flor Jansen headbanging and spinning her head. It's like, I can't believe this woman is doing this. But she's a very powerfully built woman.
Yeah.
She's not fat. She's not skinny. She's just powerful.
Yeah, she looks pretty muscular, too.
Yep. And get this, she's from Holland. She speaks perfect English. And last year when the Nightwish was recording their newest album, Endless Forms Most Beautiful, she went to Finland to help record this. She learned Finnish in a summer. She said it's not the best, but I can get by. It's like, Finnish, boy. I've heard Finnish. It doesn't sound like anything I've heard.
I like spinach.
Spinach? Yeah. The only way I can describe Finnish from what I've heard is kind of like broken German of sorts.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Man, it happened. You got to see him.
Yes, and the last thing I'm going to mention before we sign off is that on June 20th, I am going to the Lebanon Opera House again, and we're going to see Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, and he looks very different than he did in 1999, and I'm sure the venue is better. And
he's cut his hair, I think, too.
Yeah, and I know it's going to be better because that place I saw them in Maine was horrible.
Yeah, that'll be a good show. I'm going to see Styx. My friend got tickets, and I'm going. And why not?
Yeah,
why not?
They've been around. Are you going to Meadowbrook?
Yeah,
they've been there almost every year for 3 or 4 years now.
It's Styx, Def Leppard, and some other band. Tesla.
Oh, okay.
Of course, it's Tesla.
Of course,
Devaney's a huge Tesla fan. She's seen Tesla more than I've seen Aerosmith.
Well, if Nightwish plays at La Capitole again, I'll go again.
Absolutely.
We stayed at the hotel, which was attached right to the Performing Arts Center.
Oh, that's cool.
The band didn't stay there.
Yeah.
And their tour buses and everything were in the back, and which is too bad. I was hoping the band had stayed there. I would have definitely invited him into my room for a party.
Oh yeah,
it would have been grape juice and
You guys want to come in for some Skittles and stuff?
I'd have got Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Todd, it's been fun.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Reminiscing about things of the past and hopefully things of the future.
There it is.
Yeah, we'd like to wish all of you a good day, and my name is Terry Difazio. This is Todd Pronto.
That's me. I'm over here.
And thank you for watching Soundcheck. We'll see you soon. Bye now.
That's our award. We're famous.
That's our award that we gave ourselves.
I think it's time for a little story. It's definitely story time.